Three, two, one. What's going on, 10 HUD? It is Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. You know it. And for those, thank you so much that have been subscribing to our YouTube channel. Please share the knowledge, please share the shows. We greatly appreciate it because it helps us grow and get the message across to all the veterans. They're transitioning out or have been transitioning out of the military for a long time. It doesn't matter. Right, so we are trying to just spread a message from nonprofits are doing amazing work for vets, and also other resources that exist for veterans. And talk about resources and nonprofits. Today we have a special guest. You know, I want to say that I met Sergeant Major a while back. We worked together when we was trying to 10 HUD was trying to actually get accommodated with this whole affordable housing. You know, so we did have this project. And we worked diligently together, you know, brainstorming, trying to figure out how, you know, make this work. You know, from there, I've learned so much about Sergeant Major's as far as his mission with his nonprofit, and also with what does he believe in as far as helping veterans. And I can say that his mission and our mission are, we think, similar, right? It's all about giving the tools for the veterans so they can actually sustain themselves at the end of the day, right? So. Yeah. You know, and I really, I'm happy that you actually joined us today, because I know you have such a great program that you're helping veterans as far as when it comes to the Veterans Treatment Court. So, Sergeant Major, it's all yours.
Hey, well, you know what? I want to say thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I know we've been knowing each other for a couple of years, and just kind of I've been very impressed with what you're doing and how you've constantly been, you know, really trying to collaborate and collect and connect with veterans. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it. You know,
a drink to that. Don't forget, no, side of whiskey, guys. I forgot to mention that.
I know that, but you know what? I was very accommodating.
Yeah.
So I got to. You know, this is like my first interview with whiskey, so we'll see how this works out. So is this tape?
It is.
It's live, so it's live beneath those now.
Well, you know, I've been doing this work for about 6 years, and so I should know this backwards and forward with whiskey or without. But just a little bit about myself. I did about 26 years in the military, in the Army, active and reserve. I did 2 tours in Iraq and was wounded warrior, not from the combat, but had a couple surgeries on active duty, hip surgery and shoulder surgery, and that kind of what kind of ended it for me. I was like, time for the house. After they did the hip surgery, they said, "Hey, your next surgery is going to be a total hip." I was like, "I'm done," and so that changed things for me. But as a wounded warrior, I was in a unit, and I got the chance to see soldiers transitioning out. A lot of guys who were a lot worse off than me, and I knew that they're going to need some help transitioning out. So I retired out in 2014 and started Reaching New Heights Foundation. And so that foundation basically helps veterans in transition. And that's one of the ways we connected with Pedro, is in housing. One of the housing resources and education. And so one of the concepts we looked at is, if you help a veteran with, say, housing, and they need medical resources, then you're setting them up for failure. If you give them a job, they don't have housing. So it's kind of like a 3-pronged approach, where you really got to look at it from a holistic view, and really kind of connecting. And that's what our foundation does. Look at helping veterans in a holistic view. So that's kind of overview. Our biggest concept is a hand up, not so much a handout. You know, so that's overall.
And that's the thing, Sergeant Major, that a lot of these larger organizations, and we're talking about, and again, I don't want to downplay any of the efforts that they're doing, but like if you're talking about big organizations like Volunteers of America, PATH, People Assistant Homeless, they have this one-size-fits-all kind of approach to it, where it's more of a band-aid. Like you were saying, it's a hand up or a handout instead of a hand up approach. And that, I think Pedro mentioned it earlier. I think that's where the synergy comes in with 10 HUD, is that we don't believe in that type of approach. We want to be more proactive about the situation and not reactive, where you're already, trying to plug a massive hole with just a little tape,
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. So one of the questions that you mentioned the name of the name of your organization, and what approaches are you taking to gather or to reach out to these vets?
One of the platforms. Just to share a little bit about the program that we have, and then we can kind of jump in or anything. But I'll just tell you a little bit about the program. It's called Veterans Treatment Court. Now, in Veterans Treatment Court, I work with the veterans in Riverside County. There's like about 5 what we call about 50 justice involved veterans in Riverside County. And then I work with veterans in San Bernardino County. I run a mentoring program. And basically what that is, say a veteran gets off of active duty, gets out of the military, and he gets into some kind of level of trouble, gets what we call justice involved. And it's what they call an alternative program. You may have heard of AB 109. These are programs where they're opposite, or they are in lieu of incarceration. Mm-hmm. So some of the infractions range from DUIs to domestic violence to things that we see our fellow veterans and brothers and sisters get into when they get out of off active duty, especially if they've gone and had some traumatic things going on. So, it shows up in all kinds of ways. Well, just the gist of it is a 12-month program. They do formal probation for 12 months. They go get treatment at the VA. They go to classes. They go to court. And at the end of 12 months, all their fees and fines are dropped. And then if they don't have any other infractions, then it's like a restart. So based on their military, yeah.
So is it a deferred adjudication type?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
There's 2 ways that they have. One is they don't even if they go to what we call a deferment, they don't even have to get the charge, and they only go to 3 months. It's like a first time offense, first time DUI. They don't even get the charge. They just get formal probation, and then they go to court every 3 months. Now, if they have Veterans Treatment Court, then it's a formal probation, and that's 18 months. But at the end of that, then the charges are dropped. So there's a couple of things that could happen for them.
So my question is, and I was talking about this actually last week with another veteran, that there is a court specific for veterans, and a lot of veterans don't know about it. Can you tell us a little bit about that, since you have engagement with that?
Well, absolutely. That it's so true. You're absolutely right, Will. There's a lot of veterans that don't know that, and one of the reasons that they were incarcerated was due to their military service, meaning that they came home with some type of PTSD. High levels of pain, so they go ahead and they use these drugs that prescribed to them. Because I was a wounded warrior, at one point I had 13 medications that was prescribed to me. Can you imagine coming home off of that, and then they're like, "Hey, you're out of the military. Go see the VA."
See you later.
13 medications, right? And just I would say calmer heads prevail when I was like, "Man, this is just too much. I can't do this." So a lot of times that transition to pain, the transition causes them to do things with these medications that they would normally do. So that substance abuse. So based on that, utilizing those things, what we do in the court to get someone assessed, they come in and they are assessed, and then they look at your military history and determine that this individual, based on their service, maybe suffers some level of trauma, that this behavior due to their substance abuse is not like what they would do, prior to their military.
Correct.
And so absolutely, great question. Sure.
Now, does this apply to? Because I have I've had two veterans that I've worked with where they've had two different instances where does it work both with felonies and misdemeanors, just the same. I know that certain courts only allow for misdemeanors for veteran court, but not felonies, something like that.
Sure.
So just a little bit more information.
Just a little this the Veterans Treatment Court was started back in around 2009 up in Buffalo, New York, by a judge who was seeing a veteran at the time. He really wasn't concerned. He didn't know that he was a veteran, but he was seeing this individual over the course of several months, but he would not talk in court. He just keep doing these things and getting back in trouble. And so the judge had a bailiff or one of his court attendants who was a veteran. And he asked the veteran if he would speak to the Vietnam vet. He actually got the opportunity to speak to him. And then that next week, when the veteran came back to court, he was like a new man. He was opened up. And so that was the inception of Veterans Treatment Court. Now, there's about 300 to 400 Veterans Treatment Courts around the country. They're all counties don't have them. They're selective by county, by the county leadership. What we have one down in San Diego Veterans Court, and the San Diego Veterans Federal Court for federal offenses. We have one in San Bernardino. We've got one in Riverside, LA, and then so on. So it just depends, and they handle their things similar but different.
Where would a veteran find the location of where these courts are at, or how do they remand? Because that's the thing, that veterans get lost. They're trying to look for stuff, and then you go to the wrong page. It sends you somewhere else, and then you end up lost in the whole system, right?
Yeah.
Where can a veteran find this information?
JusticeForVets.com.
JusticeForVets.com.
And that's a thing that a lot of prosecutors don't know, or a lot of public defenders don't know, the availability to this particular avenue. And I've had instances where some of the vets are like, "Hey man, can I get some help with this?" And just ask are you being represented by a public defender? Ask them if they have any veteran options that you can go into. I've had a couple of them outside of the states, and one of them here in LA where he's like, "Hey," and I told him, "No, ask for veteran court."
Yeah, there are in LA. There's a group that I work down with in LA that partners with us to support veterans, and they have clients that may be in San Bernardino or Riverside. But it is simple as that. However, public defenders, judge, there's a lot of people who don't know because it is a selection. It's not. Yes.
Now, is it that it goes to a particular judge that once a veteran asks for veteran court or veteran assistance or that type of avenue, is it a particular judge that only handles that for that district?
Yeah, most of the time it is centralized, and it is one particular judge, because the reason why there are different counties that don't have them, because there's funding. And so the county has to put funding specifically to say that docket, which means that record of accounts that dealing with veterans has to have its own DA. It has to have its own public defender. It has to have its own judge. And our collaborative team is made up of about 5 different people on the collaborative team that determines whether a veteran, in our instance, gets into the court in Riverside is determined by the VA. The VA has a specific mandate and a specific representative. That's all they do, is deal specifically with justice-involved veterans, incarcerated veterans. LA and that's federal mandated money for these guys. That's their job.
So I guess I want to play a little bit of a devil's advocate. Is there an incentive for a public defender to recommend this particular? So if I'm, a public defender that gets money either way, whether he wins or loses, it doesn't really matter. But is there a more of an incentive for them to provide veteran assistance for their client?
Yes. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this is taken out of that kind of adversarial role, plus role, not because those are collaborative teams. These are treatment teams. It's called Veterans Treatment Court. So it takes it out of the whole realm of win a case, lose a case type of thing, because in order, and so this is removed from that whole, the public defenders against the district attorney. It removes that. Now, there's a little bit of that. Now, typically on the teams, there is a representative from the public defender's office. This is on the collaborative team, representative from the district attorney's office, the judge, the VA, the mental health, county mental health, and it just kind of depends. And for me, in our courts, I am the nonprofit that's on that collaborative team. So it removes it, hence the word treatment. So incarceration is not treatment. And so the VA representatives never and cannot, by their charter, recommend somebody, even if they fail the test. You're in the program and you're going through your 12 month, you use again or you fail. They don't recommend jail because that's against their charter.
It's pretty. Wow. I mean, it's a pretty good way of putting it, of saying that it isn't, incarceration isn't treatment, because it's not.
Right.
But I like that they're doing it for our population.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because here's what you're seeing. I mean, if you look, and I'm going to move away from the Veteran Treatment Court, but if you look at our state, they're moving away from incarceration stuff, and so if you look at all of the laws, good, bad, or indifferent, I have I have mixed feelings, but what the whole and they're moving away from bail, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. So they're moving away from these things, and it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen. The intent is that these guys are, by moving away from bail, there are certain people who can never afford bail, automatic jail. So they're moving away from that. However, you've got the other side that says, wait a minute, those guys need to be in jail. We're gonna not give bail. We're not gonna have bail for people who really need to be incarcerated. And so, but what's happening is they're finding that jail has not been a huge deterrent for crime, to alleviate crime. In fact, jail sometimes just doesn't do an effective job, and it just puts a more hardened person. If you don't give them the things that we talked about of what we're trying to give veterans, and they're going back to environments, it's just going to be just a matter of time.
Right.
So
now, Sergeant Major, but because there's still a selection process. So you commit a crime, you're about to do the time or whatever it is, but there's still a selection process, correct? The judge has to approve it. The defender has to, the public defender and the prosecutor have to agree with it, right? So it isn't that it's going to be automatic. You still have to be approved to arrest.
And then, especially in LA, it's a different process. All of the different courts have similar but different processes, because my San Bernardino court only takes felons, and they take them from incarceration. So, but they still have to meet that standard. Now, Riverside takes a combination of misdemeanors, felons, and all in between. Orange County, at one point, was only taking combat vets. So they have the ability to do that. Now, LA has its own kind of unique way that they do theirs, but their process is pretty good because they have everything all together. So all of those agencies are in one place. So, but the whole thing about this is these guys are not getting freebies. They're getting what they earned, because if you know anything about, even with the VA, people want to say, hey, they're getting a freebie. No, they're not. They're getting what they're earned. They're not getting a freebie. You know,
it's what it's owed. I completely
right. You know, every year there's less and less military, less than 1% now. There's few and far people who did this.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and so they're not getting a freebie.
Now for the audience listening out there, I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sergeant Major, it isn't that they're protecting them against severe crimes like domestic violence or abuse or rape or even murder. It isn't that, right? It is the lesser offenses of.
Yes. Well, right. They're in most of the courts, homicide, if there was associated, you're not eligible. There are certain things that you're not eligible to be in these courts. You know, even if you could trace that back to PTSD, you're not eligible. I know in Riverside, they won't take a person who's any homicide associated with it. You know, any sexual, you know, charges, any kid charges. So yeah, there is a certain levels that are just, you won't be considered for it.
So pretty much, if somebody is being charged with a crime and requires a grand jury, right?
There you go.
Is that what
okay. Sure, that's an easy way to say that. And what would happen? They wouldn't necessarily say that, but what on the other hand is like, hey, this is an egregious piece, and it's got. It's going to take a lot more levels of investigation to get through this one, and we don't take those kind of cases. But the team makes a decision ultimately, to judge.
You know, and a lot of people don't realize what PTSD causes to veterans. You know, it's major depression, anxiety, which leads to other problems. And for like you were saying, you know, I had hip surgery myself, and that is probably the worst surgery I've had. I'm about to have my 32nd. That was probably the most exhausting and painful post-surgery that I've had. And what do you do when the medication that they're giving you is not working? A lot of veterans seek out that hardcore narcotic, you know, unfortunately. And I had one of my team members, same thing, constantly in pain, and they fed him all these opiates at the VA, right? And then it led to heroin use, and you know, it got from that, and I mean, till he finally OD'd on all this crap, you know. Ended up on the street, had all warrants for his arrest for all this, you know, stealing stuff from people to try to, you know, contain or do his habit. But he never ever said, I need to go to veteran court, you know, and it probably would have helped him out. Who knows, you know? That's what people don't understand, how veterans end up in those situations. So
and that's it. You really, because it's a whole process when these guys get in there. I mean, you know, some of them come join the military at a very young age, and you know, and they're thinking they're going to do their whole time there, and they get out for whatever reasons, they get injured. And you know, you come back out to an environment that is less than friendly, less than familiar, and then you come out with drugs, somebody that was authorized, and you know, we all handle the drugs differently, and it is a spiral type of event. But Veterans Treatment Court is treatment. That's the biggest piece, and most of them they don't get that. I mean, you know, it's just really, I'd have to say, since the most recent conflicts, that they've really been pushing treatment, you know, because prior to that, it was just, hey, you know, we'll give you some meds, go in the corner, and then, you know, figure it out.
Yeah. And here's, you know, you're saying 13 meds. I at one point literally had a grocery bag full of this crap, you know. It's like, and they just feed it to you. And finally I said, hey, do you talk to the other doctors, the orthopedic surgeon? Do you talk to the neurosurgeon? Do you talk to all these other No, I don't talk to them. So I just see what's in your chart. And I'm like, did you know that they gave me this medication? Did you know that and they're, oh no, then I can't give you this. But why do I have to, you know, calculate what they're giving me, and I'm taking 18 pills in the morning and another 15 in the evening, and one is to do something for the other side effect, and constipation or diarrhea or whatever you get, right?
Yeah.
And they don't care, and then you get the burning esophagus, and
Another pill for that.
here's some liquid stuff.
It's funny and tragic that you say that. I remember when I was taking all those meds, I made I made myself a spreadsheet, and I put all the meds, the doses, and I put the side effects. And every other medicine on that list counteracted. This one was to stop this, but the side effect was this. And then I took the med to get that side effect. It was maddening, and it really kind of pissed you off a little bit sometimes when you sit there and say, what are they trying to do here? But I think we've gotten alternatives, and they've gotten a little bit better and more understanding of it a little bit. But
they're like, Will, why don't you ever eat breakfast? I already did. I have my 18 pills. For dinner, I just eat a little bit of this.
That's the thing. That's one of the things that is lacking, and I think it also lacks in the civilian side of things. Like, if you're seeing a doctor for many different things, it's like no one's in the same sheet of music. And even if you say, "Hey, I'm taking this medicine," it would just go over their head, right? Yeah. Because but it's that process is still not,
and the only thing that I could ever say about that is if we have our wherewithal and some help. Like, I made that list and I pointed out some stuff, and that was really,
you brought it up.
Yes,
you brought it up. You advocated. Yeah.
Yep. That's it. And that's the key piece. I mean, a lot of times our guys are not, they're not even in that kind of mode, but that is it, because these guys really kind of focus on their piece of pie, and that's it.
Right. But that's what makes this particular community, the veteran community, better, and hopefully later on it'll thrive more than it is right now. It's that we start advocating for each other. Look at this podcast. Look at what you're doing with your nonprofit. Look what 10 HUD started doing. Even the shitty nonprofits that I don't like Volunteers of America, they start advocating for vets, and veterans start advocating for each other. And that's what helps out with, the knowledge of what Will was saying. Yeah. If you start talking to a veteran and he is taking 15 pills in the morning and the other 18 pills at night, then you're like, wait, why don't you start keeping track? Yeah, why are you doing that? So it's, it's the little things that this community starts doing for each other that sets us apart from any other community.
I've seen that veteran literally walk into the clinic and start yelling at them, and I can kind of feel what he's feeling, because he's like, I don't know how to manage all these freaking medications. Yeah. I don't know what to do with this stuff, and you just keep giving me more crap, and nothing's happening. So
that's so true. I mean, I got all kinds of stuff going on still. From allergies, skin irritations, and they give me so many treatments for skin irritations, that I don't even remember. I go in there and I'm like, I don't even know what this is for. Yeah. Put it on there 2 times a day. Don't put it in your face. Then they give you a little measuring stick and said, put a dab, and I'm like, what the? And it drives you nuts. I've had one time I had to walk in there, and my arm was I had, like, I don't know, it was not bleeding, but it was like puffed almost, I had these,
ulcers,
it was just like scab runny and, allergies, right? So I go in there and the doctor tells me, he says, well, take this, and if there's a problem, just come back and see me. You know how sometimes they'll say that, and then you get there, then you're like, then the Gestapo stops you. Well, you don't have
the fucking gatekeeper.
If it kills you, come back and see me, okay?
Right, but they said that. So I had one point I had to take off, and I unbandaged myself, and they were bleeding, and I showed them my arms. I said, "Do you want to be responsible for?" And I'm a sergeant major, and I'm running the foundation, but I literally lost it and said, do you want to be responsible for this infection? The doctor told me to come. I'm sorry, but,
I'm like borderline sepsis.
Right here. Yes, it came out, but it was just like, Jesus, so.
Hey, before we continue, I need to tell everybody watching right now, we're laughing because it's a common trend, and we veterans like to laugh a lot about things that are happening to us, but inside we're actually hurting.
No, and it is a frustration, and a good thing that you pointed out. It's a frustration that it's across the veteran community, and that's if you don't make light of it. Now it's going to continue to frustrate you, and it's just going to poison you mentally,
right?
But bringing it back to, we're talking about all of these things that frustrate and aggravate the veteran community that have some sort of mental illness, PTSD, TBI, the traumatic brain injury, which brings you to some sort of breaking point, and sometimes that breaking point takes you to do things that you don't want to do, whether it's drinking and driving, because you're already at an edge that you want to self-medicate, and you don't care, and you get in a car and you're, fuck it, I'm just gonna go wherever I want to go, and you get a DUI or you hurt somebody else while driving. Those type of instances that put veterans in a legal bind, because we have these issues that we just described, and then it gets frustrating, and we, like Will mentioned, we laugh about it now, but
it's serious.
It's a very serious issue.
So going back, going back to the actual Veterans Treatment Court, is it available throughout the entire state of California, or is it just certain areas?
Yes, it is. It is available throughout California. Each county has a veteran treatment court. So based on the number of counties, so it absolutely is. It's throughout the country, actually, and it's a well-organized process. We have the leadership from Justice from Veterans. They kind of put out information that looks at the latest data that talks about how many, what the benefit of our courts are and what kind of treatment is. So it's a well-noted and informed process that they have, and we just have to ask for it.
But you're mentioning that it's not all over the country, right? Some states might not have it or might not know about it, but that's what your goal is, right? To get it in all 50 plus states.
Keep the information going. Keep letting people know about it. It is, for the most part, funding would probably be one of the reasons why they wouldn't have that. Hopefully, what they do is and just saying, hey, we understand veterans, and so we're going to be a little bit more receptive to that in those states that don't have it. But what they lack is the treatment. The treatment is really key to the success of this. My organization is, and mentoring is really key to the success. Any of the programs have a huge mentoring component. We interact with the veterans, we follow up with the veterans, and we check with them. Most of us know the whole process of what is expected for the veterans. We have all the contact numbers, so they can contact us, and then we get calls at maybe 2 a.m. in the morning, the veteran who's challenged. But that is the key, is that there is these organizations that are out there that'll help. Veteran Treatment Court is.
Yeah. So then, so I know last time when we talked, I think you mentioned that there is an actual program specifically for those that want to mentor or actually are like, attorneys, judges, or public officials that want to actually get involved. Are you developing a program like that, or have you?
Well, we have a program. That is our program.
Okay.
And we take our applications and documents are similar to or based on what we have at the Justice for Vets. So
Okay.
we run a mentoring program, and the mentoring program basically is what we do is we connect veterans with a specific person who wants to help. They're not counselors, they're not bankers, but they are people who like battle buddies. So
Right.
we paddle up, we partner up veterans with battle buddies.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
I have a question. The organization isn't a direct legal assistance, right? You're not.
No.
Are you providing lawyer assistance or anything, legal assistance?
No,
right.
But
Just to
attorneys call me on a regular basis when they want to get their clients into Veterans Court because of our familiarity or my familiarity with San Bernardino and Veterans Treatment Court. The Judge Mark Johnson is our judge in Riverside Court, who's a good friend of mine, and then the judge in San Bernardino is Judge Gilbert. I know him pretty well, in fact, and I know the public defenders, the whole process, and so they'll call me and ask. They'll call me and ask about their client and how would be the best way or what the thoughts are. In fact, I even talk to someone before they go. There are other programs out there. There's legal aid. A couple of things. There's a company organization out of Orange County, and I know them. They know of us. But the counties, both counties, have a grant that they authorize them to come out, and they only work on civil cases. So that's the big difference. They don't work on criminal cases, and they have like a 3-month backlog. But they're great. But it's still an aid out there to help veterans. So it is being brought up. We need more, but there are a few things.
There's another one in Orange County out of Irvine, right?
That's it.
That's the one.
It's a legal institute, legal aid institute.
Yeah, legal aid institute. Yeah, by the founder was Antoinette, right?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And they got a grant to spend 1 day a month in each county's office, Veterans Affairs County office. So they were able to get a grant.
Oh,
wow.
That's nice.
That's pretty good.
Oh wow. Okay.
Wow. That's awesome. So I'm going to start shifting the conversation. So one of the things, as far as your nonprofit, what's some of the I guess you could say ask that you need, and the audience listening that you can spread, as far as
one of the things that we're currently doing right now in Riverside Court, they're doing Zoom meetings, and so the veterans get on and they're doing the Zoom meeting. But in San Bernardino, we still have court, but my organization provides an office space and computers so that they can do Zoom meetings. So we coined ourselves as essential, and we practice the social distancing, mask, but we are still going full bore. I mean,
right.
So that these veterans, because it's a little different kind of population in San Bernardino. Some of them are not as computer savvy, internet and all of those kind of things, which is a real challenge. And so we're always looking for people who want to volunteer to mentor, to just be at the other end of a phone to help veterans or just to give consultation. We're always looking for that. Donations. That's how we currently do everything. We don't get the big donations, and so everything that we get, I don't take any funding myself. 100% VA, and so everything that we get goes to supporting veterans.
Well, as for me, if you need a mentor, Sergeant Major, I'm available.
Okay.
At any time.
Okay.
I'll shoot you my contact information.
Awesome.
I'm sure Pedro will do it. And
you just want to play, bro.
Dr. Romero will do it.
I got my camera, but I'm trying to. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So those are the kinds of things, but just being a resource.
Right.
I'm always happy. The veterans always have different kinds of needs. Like I got a call from a veteran up in Victor Valley about a bed. And those kind of things can be challenging to them. Something we might be easy to come across. What I found sometimes is, just helping out with food, different kinds of things that might cause a lot of anguish and anxiety for a veteran that we may not believe, and most people don't consider as something that's really key. I mean, it's a challenging time, but most of us are still able to eat, still able to do some things, but sometimes our veterans are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things, and I don't know, Jose will let me know about this, but I think that I really like mission and the similarities that we have as far as like the mindset where it comes to being proactive then versus reactive and shifting, because what you're doing is literally disrupting the process of what the stigma what people think about veterans, right? Like put them through a treatment program is not getting them incarcerated. It's not the old school method is just going through a program so they can actually technically heal themselves, right?
Yeah.
Through the resources that you provide.
Yes.
I believe that I want to push out as much as we can when it comes to our YouTube channel. I think that maybe starting next year we can probably collaborate as far as like transitioning tips for veterans in the in the Empire, Los Angeles, and we can work together because I don't know, Jose, what you guys think?
It's I want to echo that a little bit further. So I do like the similarities in the nonprofits and what you're doing, the proactiveness of the organizations, and shifting that narrative that Pedro was talking about, especially in this particular issue, because it shouldn't be looked at the same. It shouldn't be looked at, oh, you're just an individual that committed a crime, you should pay for it. But it isn't like that, especially when it comes down to veterans with issues, veterans with PTSD, veterans with TBI. It isn't an individual that committed a crime that should pay for it. It's an individual that served his time prior to this crime.
Yes.
And now it's faced with an issue that in a roadblock that they don't know what to do with, because they are now a different individual than they used to be.
If anybody has questions of what we're talking about when it comes to TBI, I recommend you watch that movie Concussion with the football players that were just acting wild, like their families like, who is this guy? Like that is exactly what we're talking about when it comes to TBI and mental impact. But yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you're definitely doing something to keep veterans out of jail and serve their time in a positive way, to be able to help themselves. And that's one of the things that we always say, and we've said in I think every single podcast that we've been doing, is advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself, and you are giving them the hand to be able to say you need to advocate for yourself. So I'm totally for it. Love it. It's great.
The biggest thing too is that we gotta help with providing them a pathway, because a lot of times we can give and we can put things out there, but if they don't have that pathway, we always in military we had a mission. That was our pathway. We knew this. We knew all the gear that we needed to have to be successful. So the other thing is about a pathway. You can put things out there and, okay, hey, I'll give you this, or we can provide you these things, but also the pathway to see success, to see this is what this can be like. You can get back to a normal and you can grow. I've gotten guys who've mended marriages, had distraught marriages, back with kids, bought homes, got college degrees. These are the kind of guys that have gone through this stuff. And they go through this stuff and they're like, yes, you know. But but that's the other thing. I think what the mentoring does is it shows them success, and it's a pathway, even if it's just a pathway with a cheerleader. You know, like the other team, your battles. Hey, you got this, man. You got this.
Yeah.
You know what the approach should be.
Hold on. Sorry. One thing that I want to say is that in the military, we have a structure, right?
I was
gonna say Monday motor pool. I don't know about Air Force, but Monday motor pool. You got to do this. You know, they do your checks, everything. You know, and that's exactly what veterans at least need, right? Reverse engineer. Here's a structure, follow it, and then eventually you can break off from the structure and make your own structure, right? So then you can find success, whatever you define success.
So this approach, I just thought, and this might be similar, but you're giving an op order, you're giving what to take, you're giving your packing list, you're giving
and then you take it away.
Your destination, yeah.
Take it away.
Then you take it away. But you're giving direction in an op order. You're giving your destination, and then you're giving a map. What's the best way to approach this particular point? You know, and then once you have boots on ground and you start navigating to that particular point, that you have fragos that you didn't expect. You can't see it on the map. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So this is exactly how we need to maneuver through life after the military. This is our op order. You know, we're going to be giving you a position on a map. Navigate yourself to it, but don't panic because there's fragos on the way. Right. You know, you're going to have to shift fire. You're going to have to shift your point of interest on the map and just figure it out. Figure the fuck out. But you will get there.
You got Bravo team, Alpha team, you got a fire team, you got a squad with you.
Yeah, you got people to help you throughout the way. Yeah, your team, and that's a mentality with you have to continue to have, and believe that you're not alone through this process. Yeah, and that's what 10 HUD is here for. That's what Sergeant Major Coker's here for, and his organization. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Sergeant Major, I want to say thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Great information. I mean, I have to say this has been one of the best, podcast / YouTube. Yeah. And I want to actually say this now, but I would love to do something in the future next year, as far as doing some YouTube videos. Oh yeah. By the way, Jose got himself a whiskey of the season, right? So instead of saying the 12th day of Christmas, it's 12th day of wedding.
Okay. While we've been on the podcast, I've had 1, 2, and 3. I'm about to open up 4.
Oh man, it's supposed to be a day, bro. It's supposed to be a day, not a minute. You're like every 5 minutes, I'm gonna take one.
Sorry. The previous one, I'll tell you guys. The previous one, which is a honey jack, Jim Beam, really good.
It's really good, right?
So good. Oh, yeah. This apple one might be dangerous too. So, till the next podcast.
I stay with the white label right now.
I want to give a shout out to you can reach me at info@rnh.org. That's Reaching New Heights Foundation. So info@rnh.org. That's my email, or you can reach my website at rnh.org. rnh.org.
And you can find us on DM. You can just DM us.
There you go. RNH, right? .org.
That's right, man.
All right.
RNH.
Thank you so much for your time, sir.
RNHF Foundation.
RNHF.
No, great. Man, you guys are awesome, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for having me.
Cool, Simon. Thank you.
All right, guys. Take care. 10 HUD, thank you so much for watching. And for those that have actually been subscribed to our channel, thank you so much. Share this video. It will be ready by tomorrow. Just share this video. If you're watching this on Facebook, go ahead and share it now. We'll really appreciate it. The more we get this video shared, the more we can actually expose what 10 HUD's mission, what Sergeant Major's mission, he's doing, and other nonprofits that are doing amazing work for veterans. Yeah. All right, guys. Until next time. Remember, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific time.
10 Hut with the side of whiskey.
10 Hut with a side of whiskey. Salud.
Oh, salud.
Guys,